Fast Forward Productions. The women are speaking. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the One Broke Actress podcast, an honest account of actor life plus a few lessons I learned in the process. I'm your host, Sam Valentine, and to my immediate right is my very good friend and most recent roommate, Gabrielle Bin Loss. Hi, you want to take this?
That's such a good way to put it because we have spent the past 14 days together. When we thought about what we were going to do with this podcast, we thought about how many conversations we had on the past 14 days that we didn't have a microphone in front of our face and talked about so many things that actors would love to hear.
And now I'm trying to remember a single one of them.
Okay, well, I've got plenty.
Okay, great. Let's give context. Today is March 18th. We have just been together since March 8th when I flew in to Atlanta, and I spent a week with you in Atlanta, and then you flew back to LA with me for one of your first visits to LA. We did a few days here, and you are leaving tomorrow.
Yes.
And devastation will ensue, but we'll get over that later. And this is the second time we've ever met. And we've spent almost 2 weeks together. And as someone whose working actor life is often shared on my podcast and on your own socials, did you ever think you'd spend this much time with an actor and not want to?
No, you don't even have to finish the sentence. No, because actors can get all those different things, right? They can be showy, they can be judgy, they can be compare-y. And I think this is actually what I want to talk about is there's been such an interesting blend between being human and being actors on this trip. And also running a business, right? And I want us just to set the business side to the side for a second, because amongst everything, we were still able to run our business. But this is what we created these businesses for. We have people that are incredible on our teams to be able to take over when we need them to.
Yeah.
We plan our content out at least a month in advance.
You do.
No, you've gotten to that point now.
Well, I guess more like podcasts and YouTube, but my socials are a little bit more gently. Yes. Our anchor content.
That's a great way to put it. Our anchor content that we both use for sales. And in between that, it's mainly checking in with our members, which we both decided to have an Atlanta meetup and an LA meetup so that they would get that one-on-one FaceTime. So what was left was whatever came in for an actor and whatever came in for human life in general. So Sam and I live most of our lives individually, to be honest. Her husband comes and goes throughout the day for his training and his clients. My husband leaves in the morning and comes at the very end. And so we're used to spending a lot of our time on our own, heads down, getting our work done. And when you have the joy of being with somebody that you actually like to hang out with, you get to experience life with those humans and see what their life looks like in their element and what it's like to be an actor in their shoes. And the biggest thing I have learned on this trip from you, twofold. One, a let's just see mentality actually does work most of the time.
Wow.
There are a couple times when it gets stressful.
Yes.
But I think you would say the same thing about me, that planning everything else works most of the time. There are times when it's a little too planny and we could have just gone with the flow. And what I think, people are going to hate me for saying this, but I, for lack of better words, get frustrated with the little things that are actually things that people would be really appreciative for in my acting career. I wanted to meet with my manager on this trip, and it just didn't work out timing-wise because we had so many things going on. I received 5 auditions in a week and a half, and about 5 of those auditions I complained about. And all of this was while Sam Valentine next to me came to Atlanta thinking that she was going to have all of these Atlanta meetings. None of them panned out. Randomly got a meeting with a Chicago agent that she wasn't even sure about what was going to happen. Got 0 auditions for theatrical.
Yes.
Had 1 print ad in person callback, essentially is what that was. And a voiceover gig and a commercial audition. They look like 2 separate lives that I think both sides of these actor coins people would be happy to get. But for me to be able to see it was just so fucking eye-opening to watch your process of how you go about these things, to watch how much care and consideration you put in some things and not into the others, and how that works for you, to watch you have to mitigate in your brain. Even if a slight thing came through of well, damn, I wish I had 5 auditions to complain about. It was you almost jumped in, took them out, and was wait a second, I get to learn from this person and watch 5 auditions and figure out what my life would look like if I got 5 auditions at the drop of the hat and what I need to do, while also teaching me. I know that you've gotten 5 auditions normally in your life in general for the past couple of years, but this is still an oddity and you should be excited about it. And that perspective one-on-one is what I wish everybody was able to follow us around and see.
Yeah, I think we had a really special time with this because not only did we get to like see each other's lives, which we've seen each other's lives through Zoom for years now. And the last time we were together, the one and only time besides this we've spent time together, IRL, was so primarily focused on kicking off TM. So for us to get this time of let's go to dinner with our friends, let's have these fun outings, and also we had meetings with our own clients, we had to check our emails, you had auditions, I ended up having auditions. We got to see so much more of it. It's funny because you kept clocking that. You were like, man, I know you, like, you guys, I tell you this all the time, like, I don't get that many auditions. I really don't. I audition commercially way more than I audition theatrically. And I have a great theatrical agent. It's just where I'm at in this business right now and like the things that are going on. And I'm so understanding of it in a way that I'm accepting of it while also reaching for more. I'm really happy with where I'm at. Would I like to have more? Yes. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm booking more. It just means I'm in a different playing field of the game.
Yes. Which I do want to add because I know a lot of people are going to be like, 5 auditions in a week and a half. Oh my gosh. Listen, a part of my resistance that comes up is because I have auditioned so many times and heard nothing. And I don't think people understand that when they think about, I want more auditions. They're like, well, at least I'm auditioning. And it's like, do you have the mental capacity to handle what it's like to do 5 auditions in a week and a half and here's zilch? I know in the beginning, it's going to be like, well, it doesn't matter. This is just great. I'm getting those auditions. But after 3, 4, 5 years of auditioning, I mean, I've auditioned for series regular over 500 times and heard nothing. Are you still going to feel like this is what you want to do and this is worth it? So when I feel resistance come up for me, I know it's because my body is trying to guard me from the possibility of this being yet another number that I don't hear anything about. And the reminder that this is what you signed up for, this is the industry that you get in. But being able to be around you, it reminds me like, oh, there's also perspective in this could all go away. And then how will you be able to handle that? Because you're so used to getting auditions. So are you okay to be sitting in Sam's shoes and not getting auditions?
Yeah.
Because you know, the other side of it might be more challenging for 2 different types of people as far as acting goes. But with actors, we tend to think as long as we're getting auditions, we'll feel better. And I'm here to say no. And the other side of it, right? With actors, it's like, as long as I'm repped, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that's always the next thing.
Yes.
Like, as long as I get this thing I'm working for right now, it means I will be fine.
Right.
But if you're not fine where you are now, we've said it 10,000 different ways, but like, it's not gonna fucking work. Like, it takes time. It takes so much time to be like, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm working towards it. And that enough is satisfactory for right now. It's a very different place to be in than the, yeah, sure, I want more. And listen, we'll go, like, to get into specifics, like with our trip, we did a lot of work in prepping my package, prepping a specific self-tape for the market, prepping a lot of things in order to get me in front of Atlanta agents while I was there. Because, and I will do a completely separate thing on the Patreon and bonus podcast specifically about this. So if you guys want more details about that, join the bonus podcasts. But it was very, very specific to Atlanta, specific to what we were doing. And we lined it up to where hopefully I could be in town to take meetings because I have the availability, the finances, and the mobility to do these things now. And it was not a cakewalk.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It's not even a cakewalk. The cakewalk didn't exist. We showed up to the party and there was no fucking walk.
We were the only people at the party.
We were the only people at the party and they told us that they already had all of those cakes.
We baked cake. And they said, we only have pie at this store.
Yeah.
We took this metaphor so far.
We did. But we've been together too long.
Welcome.
I'm talking in metaphors now. Who am I?
It's so fun. But I couldn't get seen. And the people who we did speak to who did look at my package were like, you're awesome. We cannot rep you at this moment in time for various reasons. You know, when that first happened, you were more sad than I was.
Yes.
Because you were like, wait, I figured this was going to go a certain way. You've also had a very different experience with reps than I have.
Yes.
I've run the gambit of like people who said they were reps who weren't actually really reps. People who said they were submitting me, they weren't submitting me. I've had like, you know, I've done every rep at this point. Mm-hmm. People who were terrible humans and people who were incredible but couldn't get me seen. So I'm so used to it. And so when I got that, I thought, oh, okay, especially our first choice. And they said, we love her. We just cannot take her. And I thought, oh my God, well, they love me. And Gabrielle calls and she says, okay, we were like days away from being together, and you were very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes, I kind of bought into what a lot of people said. Listen, I will always fight the idea of the LA label, meaning somebody is better than, more deserving than, has more, I don't know, skin in the game, because it's what I've been told since I've been in Atlanta, and that's my own stuff to unwrap. But I did think, oh, great, here's my incredibly talented friend that already has a platform, that's been in this industry for 14 years in LA, that knows how to do this, that has a professional setup, that has incredible headshots. There's nothing in my head that's missing from it, which is what they said. There's nothing that's missing. We just already have this person on our roster. We can't take on more. And I was thinking, well, she's from LA. I don't understand why you can't take on more. She's from LA. Which is funny because when I hear people be like, I'm going to go from LA to Atlanta and I'll just get signed and I'll be a big fish in a small pond, I'm like, fuck you. That's not how Atlanta works. But for some reason, I thought it was going to be different for you because you're my friend.
It's always different when it's personal.
Yeah.
Like for everyone else, but like not for everyone.
Yeah, that's fine for everybody else. But for St. Valentine coming into ATL, it should have worked out this way, and it didn't.
It didn't.
It didn't, and I got to see how you handled that with so much grace, so much understanding, so much finding the silver lining, and so much like, okay, I'll just pivot. Which then brought her to being like, listen, I've got an agent that is excited about me in Chicago. Let's start to look at what that looks like. And maybe I'll just like slowly make my way over to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Maybe I try to go too far from LA to Atlanta. Maybe I need to stop in Chicago for a second. And so I want you to talk a little bit about what that pivot looked like, because I think a lot of people would have thought it would be easy to get to Atlanta. Oh, I can't get in Atlanta. I'll just stay in LA, and not been able to, for lack of better terms, allow their quote unquote ego to sit on the bench while they took a different opportunity that might create more success for them.
Yeah. It's absolutely the fact that emails like that, we love her. There's nothing she can change. We just can't take her on. If I think back to the initial meetings I had with agents, 13, you keep saying 14, it's 13, but I love that you're giving me that extra year. Yeah. Because in a while I'm going to make a post that's like 13 years in LA, and people are going to be like, Gabrielle said it's 14.
Oh my God, please come for me on Sam's page. That would be a really smart choice of yours.
No, I'll just probably delete it.
Yeah.
I don't have time for the haters. So I would go to these meetings and people would say, you're like so sweet, we're just really not sure what to do with you, or just keep working. I was like, how the fuck am I gonna keep working without an agent? I didn't realize that the process of growing up and getting better was something I was going to need to do indefinitely and to invest in and to get better at. And now to get emails from reps that are like, we still can't take you, but you have everything you need to succeed. That is what I hear. So maybe it is my ego being like, let's plow through the bullshit and find the gem. Like, oh, great. Well, she's come really far. Maybe it's not you, but it's someone else. I have so much data that proves that when I do something well, people will eventually notice it. Yeah. I'm just a longer time girl. It just takes me a longer period of time to get there. But in the process, I do really cool shit. And I really like the stuff that I get to do. So if it means when Atlanta didn't necessarily work out as of right now, right? We still have a few balls in the air. We still have a few things. And we'll revisit this the next time I visit, because I really do want to be like boots on the ground the next time we do like submissions and things. But the pivot of, well, this Chicago agency got a hold of your packet and they would love to see you. And we looked at their roster and not a single person looked like me, which is a wild card.
It was wild. I mean, we were like, are we looking at the right roster? There's got to be another white girl, blonde hair, blue eyed on here.
Everybody has one of me, if not 17 of me.
And it was even confirmed in your agency meeting today, right? Yes. She said, you told me she said that, like, we don't have anybody like you, because Sam asked a great question. So she had asked, like, what about me stuck out to you? And one of the things that they said was that they didn't have me on the roster that looked like her, which is like...
I've never heard that sentence before from an agent, and I was like, all right.
You want to date me exclusively? Sure thing.
I'm not like the other girls.
No.
I'm like your girl. So it was very different. And so but it's always been the pivot for me. It's always been, well, plan A doesn't work, so what's left? And plan B and C fall away. So I'm like, okay, plan D, here we go. Let's try this. And the pivot has always been not immediately successful, but something successful.
Yeah.
So like the pivot with my acting career was like, you do not know what you're doing. Ask questions out loud became One Broke Actress. And the pivot of I am running this membership for actors and I cannot do it alone became TM and became befriending you in an even closer way. So like my pivot with like dating guys in Los Angeles became I can't date anyone. I ended up meeting a guy at work. It's just the pivot has always been done well for me. Mm. So let's see what the next one brings. Let's like, what's the worst that can happen? Do I get less auditions?
You can't get less auditions with all due respect. You can't go from 0 to less.
It's like, and honestly, I think a lot of people in the LA market are like, what happened? I used to go out all the time, and I want to take that and be like, okay, great. Instead of comparing yourself to who was I in 2021, 2022 that like the industry is changing. And I think this is a conversation I had with that agent today is like, this is going to be so unlikable. The availability and financial stability of actors to diversify their markets is going to be an interesting fold of what is coming up next in the business. And that does not mean that everyone who's listening to this needs to go submit to people outside of their market. It doesn't mean you need to have 17 agents in 17 areas. I just think a lot of people assume that they need to be Los Angeles or New York in order to work in this business, or they need to be in Atlanta. And there's just so much more happening than we even realize. People are more open to the conversation now. But the problem with that is it's expensive. And I'm not going to make, if I book work in these smaller markets and I take myself there and based on, there are some people in certain markets that I can stay with. I have a very large range of people. It will technically probably still cost me money, but I no longer have to take off work to go do these things because my work is built around me. I can gauge more things out of it. I can do podcasts in another market. Like there's so much availability. I built a life that actually behooves itself to move around to other markets. And I have a very large amount of privilege to go other places and be financially stable. That's not open to a lot of people. And I don't know what the fix is to that, because I think it's going to be a new thing that actors coming up are going to deal with. And I couldn't have done this 5 years ago, let alone when I first started acting.
No, the industry is becoming so much more transient, which is, in one flip of that coin, exciting because it's going to open up markets and places that couldn't even for the light of the day get themselves seen for anything. Yeah. And that makes me excited. I've had a lot of conversations with people that are in Wisconsin who, like this, your agency that you might sign with, it does have representation and gets auditions for Wisconsin, or people who are in Nebraska, or people who are like up in Tennessee, but in the top part of Tennessee, and to be able to get to Nashville would take them 6 hours to get there. Talking to these people, you get that same perspective of what I was talking about with you, with realizing that what you have might be driving you nuts, but it's still more than what somebody else doesn't have. And if you think about it, and you think about these people that are in these smaller markets that just have the same amount of drive, the same amount of want, the same amount of passion to be an actor as you do, and don't have the ability to, because it means that they would have to move to a different state and uproot their life from their family, their friends, their spouses possibly, and live in a place that can cost them 3, 4, or 5 times more money just to pursue their dream. You start to think about, well, damn, as I sit here in my cozy place and complain about whatever I want to complain about. So it's exciting because there will be people that have dreamed about this career that thought it would never happen to be able to do that. And that's really cool because that means more stories are going to be able to be told, and it's going to help us with a lot of things. On the flip side, that means that you are going to have to be able to get back and forth to wherever you need to get to for your own dime and not have to worry about, are they going to fly me here? How much money am I going to make off of the project? Like, you're really going to have to take out the amount of money that you're making on the project and think about it in terms of, do I need this for my expansiveness of my career?
This is one of the gifts of not having a successful acting career early on, is that I had to build a world in which acting is not my financial security. I do not pay... This is, you guys, this is why it's called One Broke Actress, not like One Broke Little White Girl, is because like I do not pay my bills with actor money. Yes, it comes in waves at certain times, but it's savings, or it's I really wanted to, I paid off our car or whatever it is, you know, like things like that. But I don't buy my rent, my groceries, my gas with actor money. I've always been used to making my own money, and it's not easy by any stretch of the word, but I've built a reliable income source on my own, and that is what makes that even possibly feasible to eat the cost of potentially pursuing acting. And yes, this is like where pay to play comes into form, and there's a lot of other issues that we're going to deal with. And I've talked a lot of actors out of being local hires because they can't afford it.
It's a lot of money to be a local hire.
Yeah.
I mean, we ran the finances today for Sam to book something in Chicago, which is like a 2-hour flight from LA.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
2 or 3 hour flight from LA. It's a flight. It's not a drive. I mean, she could, but it just would not work. So, right, she'd have to pay for the flight to and from. She'd have to pay for however her transit's going to be, whether she rents a car or gets an Uber. She'd have to pay for where she's going to sleep, which I know some of you guys are thinking, well, I can sleep anywhere. I'll do a hostel. Fine, do a hostel. But you still have to get to and from. She has to pay for the food that she's going to get while she's there. And then the other things that she's not thinking about, which are like, what happens if she doesn't bring what she needs to bring and she's got to grab a couple extra pieces of undergarments for it.
There's a Target run in the future.
There's a Target run somewhere in there. They needed something else. Or she forgot stuff for her other business. Maybe she gets out there. She was supposed to record a podcast on the in-between. Now she's got to buy new equipment. So alone, at bare bones, it was going to cost Sam around $1,200 to $1,500 to go to Chicago for a booking. Now, put that into perspective. If she books a co-star role, she's going to get paid around $900 to $1,200 for that co-star pay. So we're already in the hole, right? You still got to take away what she needs to pay her reps. You still got to take away what she has to pay for taxes, guys. So she ends up spending money to do this booking, which I think 3 years ago, people would never think about, especially coming from LA.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, I'm in LA. There's plenty of stuff here. If anything, I'll take like an indie film and do it. But you have to think about this career as a business and not as your everything and not as your financial stability. It will help you create and expand so much more in your career if you can go about it that way versus just, no, I need this thing to make this money to pay this bill.
And it's a different vibe when you're looking at it as, I need to be in the auditioning game more than I am right now, and not just like doing random self-tapes, because for me, I need it to be to a point, and I need to be actively given timelines and turnarounds. I need to be working with my agents. Like 13 years in, this is what I am working on, and this is where I am working. And to be able to do that, there is a cost to it, but also I'm setting boundaries with, this is so funny, I haven't even been confirmed with this agent yet. They were like, great, we'll get back to you later this week. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, I'm going to talk about it on a podcast. So TBD. But if this works out, I will have stipulations on the kind of things I would do. So I would not be coming to town to do a no-line co-star that might be cut. There's stipulations on, if it's a co-star, what is the ramifications of that character in the scene? How many days? What is the process? If it's a movie, okay, well, that's going to cost a lot more money. So like I had to talk over this with this agent, like there are things I would have to turn down. There's a lot of ins and outs of this that is going to be, it's not just going to be oh yeah, I got an agent and now I'm like getting auditions and now I'm going to go book. And that's another layer of it, is like, I'm not doing this assuming that this is the key and ticket. This is just another thing I'm trying. That's truly what it is at the end of the day. This is let's just see at a 10. This is totally me taking it to a level of like if this is the next pivot, let's find out. But I do not expect this to be like, I'm not going to book my lead in the next season of The Bear because I got a Chicago agent to send me out for co-stars. You know what I mean? And I think that's where we go awry, is we're like, well, it's worth investing in now because like it's going to turn around to something big. I don't know about that, but right now I need to be in the game.
Yeah, you want the auditions, you want to see what that's like.
Yeah, and I have the money to eat it.
Yeah, I mean, even in my career, 2 years ago, 2022, I had gotten top of show guest star for 3 different roles that I had done. If you guys don't know what that is, that means you're making anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 for the episode. They are flying you to where they want to fly you to. They are paying for your hotel, and they're paying for everything, guys. Yeah! It's all there, right? So I was thinking, amazing. This is now my new high, right? This is it. Top of show guest star, not doing anything below it. This is where a lot of people would have been like, I'm not auditioning for co-star anymore. I'm not doing this, whatever. And one would think that that's how it was going to be. But then we had a strike, and now we have this weird anomaly of where we're at. And before Sam and I left, I had a co-star audition that we taped. We looked at the co-star audition, and I'll be honest, I looked at it first, and I saw co-star, and I saw one line, and I was like, that was the stillness of silence of me actually taking space instead of inserting what I actually thought. But I walked away from it. I also was in a tizzy because it was the first day Sam got here. And I was like, oh my God, I've been waiting to see this woman for an entire year. And there's an audition on the books because I love this career, but it has never once, nor will it ever be my everything. Relationships and my people are my everything. So when you put this career and my people, it's harder for me to see the clear line through because I'm so excited about my people. So then once Sam and I finally sat down and saw what the audition was, it was this kick-ass role. She's like a killer. She's shooting people. She's possessed. And then she comes back and she's trying to fight for her life.
It's great footage.
It's great footage at the end of the day.
Incredible director.
An incredible director, a really well-written scene, and I have nothing like it. Now, the industry is changing, which means you have to think about expansiveness for your career again. It was a no-brainer once Sam and I got into it to be like, oh, we got to do this thing, even if we don't book, because we both need to see what this is like to film something that is literally a page of what's happening, but there's no dialogue on that first scene.
The whole first scene was only action.
Just action. Walks outside, da-da-da, shoots this person, has this moment, shoots this person. And thinking about the traps that actors are going to do during that, thinking about all of the stuff that happens in your head to be able to like overplay it, to be like, I've got a gun, so I'm going to really have that kickback and really sell it. You know, all those actor things that we want to do.
And like blood and
oh my gosh.
You know, it was so interesting that we even forwarded it on to Erica Bream.
Yes.
To look at for her oh shit class.
Yes. Yes, because it's an oh shit one if I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
It really would make you, and I think that by looking at it, most people would do exactly what I did. There's no lines, it's easy, I'll do it in 5 minutes, no big deal. Then they sit down, they get into it, and they're like, oh my God. Oh, you know what? It's easy. I just have to kill people, and they don't do what the work is. So I digress. What I'm trying to say is, little top of show guest star, not going to audition for anything else, auditions for a co-star, one line, because it's expansive for my career. I have nothing like it with footage. We all know I can beat the shit out of somebody if I needed to, especially on takes. Yeah. Every audition I get, if I get 10 auditions, at least 2 to 3 of them are some type of military audition. To have that type of footage would be able to bring so much to my career that the dollar amount doesn't even matter to me. I just want that opportunity.
Yes.
And that's what I think that like I'd like to encourage actors to do is, like, as cliche it is, think outside of the box for your career, because we're no longer in a box, guys. The box was shattered during the strike. We're not even sure if we're making the box out of cardboard. Like, yeah, they're still trying to, God, I have been hanging out with you too much if I'm making freaking things.
I was just enjoying it so much. I was like, there's not even a box anymore. It's just like a chalk circle on the ground.
Who the fuck am I?
Keep going. Keep going.
It's beautiful.
It's okay, Trudy. The dogs are upset.
It's different. And these 2 examples show you it's all changing. And if you don't keep your mind open to it looking like something else, you're going to get left in the dust. And you have to think about it differently. And hopefully that can spark some creativity for this career again. Yeah. I mean, even the agency she interviewed with today said they have 2 branches. One is the TV film department.
Yes.
And commercial. And the other is the influencer department.
Yes.
Which everybody wanted to say after 2020 was going to be gone, but people are realizing that, like, it's a part of it now. There's a whole SAG contract for it. They can become members of SAG. So either get on the train or you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, it's just another way to approach it now. It's another version of, and you say expansive in your career, and I also think expansive in your life. Like, if your dream is like traveling to another country to be put up, to get to film, to get to meet people and try on new stories and experiences, you know who also gets to do that? Influencers.
Yes.
They just do it. It just looks a little bit different.
Yes.
The outcome is different. It's not on the side of a billboard, probably. Mm-hmm. It's just into an Instagram story. Mm-hmm. And I'm to the point where, like, I will also do that, because to me, it's still creative and it's still fun, and that's the goal. And if it just looks a little different than I thought it would, if I'm doing it in cold ass Chicago instead of warm, sunny LA, okay, great. Like, let's fucking see, man.
Yeah.
It's also helpful because you're supportive. You've had a career that you've been with like the same agent, and it's been very successful. You have a great manager that's very successful for you. You audition a lot. And so for someone who's had what some might see as a linear career from the outside, for you to be like, absolutely, let's do X, Y, and Z. Let's do, as one of my like guided confidants. Same with my agent here. So supportive of this. Everyone I've talked to that is currently on my team has been super supportive of this. That makes it even feel better.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole reason we started a membership, to have people in your corner versus people that look like they're in your corner, but they're actually like head to head against you. Oh, you were bringing up the social media thing, and I just wanted to follow up. The last podcast was when I had booked that social media ad, and I listened back to it.
Yes.
Which, it was a great podcast. I just want to toot our own horn. We do better when we do just let's just see versus me coming with an agenda and us sticking to it.
Oh my God. Who would have thought flying by the seat of our pants and recording content was the way to go?
Not me. So let me give you guys the breakdown of what that looks like, because I know a lot of people had reached out being like, please let me know what happens with this. So the audition was for Meta, is what they were going to use it for, so Instagram.
It came through your commercial agent.
Through my commercial agent. The audition was essentially the spot that they wanted to do, quote unquote, the reel that they wanted to create for it. I taped the audition vertically through TikTok the way it would look, because they were pulling a trend from TikTok and putting it onto Instagram. The reason being is because TikTok is always ahead of the trend, so they were trying to take that before it got large on Instagram to be able to do it. So instead of recording it in Instagram, I recorded it in TikTok just to showcase the trend the right way. And I added all of the blurbs and stuff that they said that they would add onto it. I basically gave them the product without it being in the same space that they wanted it to be in. I booked the role. The role was supposed to be filming for one day. I also needed to come in for a fitting, just as similar as a commercial. The turnaround time was about 2 weeks. Again, similar to a commercial. The pay rate for it, I mean, I think everybody, based off of your contract might get something different, especially because if they ended up filming one spot or two spots for you, but they were just filming one video for me. Mm-hmm. And I think it was $1,200 for the video and then $500 for the wardrobe fitting. They can just use that one video and they have the ability to use it within all Meta platforms. So Facebook, Instagram.
Can they cut it into separate videos?
No.
Oh, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
So if there's a second video that's a different cut, they would have to pay you differently.
I think so. It was through SAG as well, so it goes towards my credit for that too.
Love.
And what they did was essentially what I did in the audition, except for with a fancier camera. That was it. And it was a tiny little camera, to be honest. It was like as big as a little mic stand was, because it was a camera featured for social media. They recorded it in vertical. And it was just me saying the lines, I'm not kidding you, maybe 40 to 50 different ways. So they could use whatever cut they wanted to use. So it was definitely more than a commercial. But the amount of time that I worked on that set was maybe an hour and a half. And that's it. I was done. The wardrobe fitting took 3 hours only because we were all taking our time and spending time together. So at the end of the day, I worked for 4.5 hours. It's only going to be played on Meta, and I don't have to worry about it going all over the place or anywhere else. And that's another example of this industry looking different.
Yes.
And still lucrative. I mean, the contract for web-based commercials now, I think it's actually a similar price point. And in Georgia, we have the Georgia Lottery, right? It funds the Hope Scholarship. And if you get the Georgia Lottery auditions, they're going to use it for 13 weeks and that's it. The payment is only $600 for those 13 weeks. And that's everywhere. That's on TV. It's on everything, but it's such a regional contract. So if you put it into terms of that, it's like 2 Georgia Lottery bookings. And now you start to see the perspective of what people think, like, oh, if I'm going to book a commercial, it's SAG National, it's a pharma commercial, it's on everything, versus getting something else that looks like this, that maybe people are like, I'm not auditioning for social media. And you're like, you are sticking yourself in the foot. Just like when you say, I'm not going from LA to Chicago, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yes.
Just like you're saying, I'm not going to go from top of show guest star down to co-star. Well, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yes. I think it's just different than it was. And listen, people might have that place in their career where they have an agent or a manager who's like, okay, and we're going to take a beat on this, but the beat hath been taken here. And the beat was called 2023.
Yeah. And
we're back and we're different.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a conversation. I don't know if anybody forgot this, but this job can be super fun if we allow it to be and don't put so many ramifications on it. And it just doesn't have to be so heavy all the time. It doesn't have to be this thing. This morning I took that agent audition in sweatpants and slippers and a nice shirt, and I put a little makeup on, and this is my hair from when we went to the Magic Castle last night. So I cleaned up a little bit, but it wasn't so serious. There's a lightness to the business of just getting excited to be a part of it that I am enjoying right now. That I am, you doing that co-star audition. I do think 2 years ago, we probably would have said no because you would also been more strapped for time.
Yes.
And it would have just been a different energy. But you getting to do this, and we did it as a team. We had so much fun. We brought in Vaz from Online Actor, and we both learned stuff from it about props, about shooting, about lighting. We played with it, and it was just useful in more ways than just equaling perhaps a day on set and a check.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
It was fun. It was a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, we almost didn't do it.
Yeah, we almost didn't do it. It was a lot of fun. It was worth every bit of it.
Okay, so to wrap up our trip, which we're going to see 10,000 pieces of content on, you and I are about to go, we're going to go work out. We should probably take these guys on a W-A-L-K. Secret code B4, and then we're going to go work out. We're going to
make
dinner at home.
I'm going to pack my stuff up.
Get cozy.
Watch something fun because I'm still working on flying anxiety. And then I'm going to take a sleeping pill and go to sleep.
And then we're going to wake up and drive gently to the airport in one of many, many drives we will do to LAX. This is a tight friendship.
I told you I would take an Uber. It would be an Uber Black, but I would take it.
It would be $500. Nope. I didn't. Nope. There's time in the sketch.
Yeah, there's time in the sketch. And to wrap this call up, I think the more that you choose to see everything you're doing in your acting career, even when it's not acting as set up for it, you're going to call that energy in. Just like this is my year of traveling because I'm going to sign with an agent that's not in LA. I'm going to need to get back and forth on a plane. And me being like, all right, well, I need to go to LA because I've been repped in LA since 2019, never been there before, never met my reps. And if I want to play big ball and get booked as a series regular, it's probably going to be somewhere in LA where I'll at least need to go, even if it's just to meet people or even if they're filming it somewhere else, but do the final auditions or something like that. So let's start showing the world that I can do LA. It's the thing that I think about, like even now with my anxiety of getting on the plane, I'm like, yeah, okay, well, you still got to get back to Atlanta and you will have to do exactly this at some point. So let's start working it now. So if people could stop looking at their acting career as I get an audition and I book, small little space, and start looking at it as like everything that happens to me each day is all preparing me towards my acting career, because this career doesn't look like what I thought it used to look like anymore. It looks like this expansive place that not even people know about. You're going to call that energy in, and I think you'd be surprised to see how it starts to be reflected back to you. And so maybe we'll listen back to this on my third trip to LA or Christmas time of this year, whatever it is, because I want to see the Christmas at the Grove with the snow.
Ugh, you're the only person I will drive to the Grove with during the holiday season.
That was already crazy on a Sunday in the middle of March. I can't even imagine.
Do not wish to. Maybe we'll walk. I don't know. Maybe that's the Uber Black.
Yeah, maybe that's the Uber Black. Yeah, maybe that's the Uber Black. Drop us off and pick us up. But maybe we'll listen back to this and we'll be like, wow, we really truly did prepare ourselves for all that's coming, instead of just waiting for it to arrive and going through there because it didn't look like the way we thought it was supposed to look like.
That's a perfect note to end this on. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and I will talk to you next week.